Well, today marks 1 year since former President Jimmy Carter entered hospice care. He continues to beat the odds every day. And tonight we're hearing from his doctor, who has been at his bedside in South Georgia ever since. Our Atlanta News First reporter Asia Wilson has the story.
For decades, we've all seen former President Jimmy Carter in public committing his life to serving others, even after his seat in the Oval Office. But this time last year, a notice sent to the world that the nation's longest living president would spend his remaining time on Earth at home, receiving hospice care. With Sunday marking day 365, his physician, Dr. Michael Raines, the hospice director at Phoebe Sumter, says the former peanut farmer continues to press on.
He's doing fairly well. He continues to have a little bit of decline that is measured.
Back in November, the 99-year-old lost the love of his life.
The best thing I ever did was marrying Rosalynn.
His wife, former First Lady Rosalynn Carter, just days after she entered end-of-life care. Their love story lasted 77 years.
I think I have been as blessed as any human being in the world.
Her death now noted as one of his biggest challenges.
Well, since she's passed, he has had some decline. He misses her. He sleeps more. He asks where she is at times. Those are probably the biggest things.
Dr. Raines says he and other nurses check on the Plains, Georgia native once a week, adding that he's also under caregiver supervision around the clock.
There are some cases that it's difficult to predict how long they're going to live. With him, when he initially came on, we didn't think that he was going to live 6 months.
Friday, the Carter Center released a statement saying, in part, 1 year after entering hospice care, President Carter continues to be at home with his family. The Carter family is grateful for the many expressions of love they have received and the continued respect for their privacy during this time. The 39th president still showing his resilience is stronger than ever.
He's been a fighter.
In Atlanta, Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.